From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
The number of COVID-19 cases in Gallatin County is going down, and so are the number of people signing up for vaccine appointments. I'm Gabby Crevitt, and I'll have that full story coming up.
And there's a new normal when it comes to the U.S. climate information. Recent data has been updated, and coming up, we'll take a closer look at what that means locally. There's a live shot in the mining city this morning. You can see some pretty good cloud cover. Is that fog or clouds out there, Matt?
Right now, it looks like maybe some of that is fog. You may see a little bit of snow or rain trying to mix in with a few of those, and that's going to be the case throughout the day today.
There you go.
Temperatures this morning, it's not necessarily cold, but it feels chilly as you head out. It's kind of a heavy air with some of that damp feel to it this morning into the 30s. I wouldn't be surprised to see a few snowflakes in a few areas into the morning. The better potential coming in the mountains into the afternoon, a few spotty rain showers in a few of the valleys, but much needed moisture is on the way. You can see this clouds still pretty low this morning. Good chance that you'll see some fog in some of those river valleys. Temperatures holding into the 50s, low 50s at that, but I wouldn't be surprised to have those windshield wipers rolling on delayed wipe for the morning. We'll talk more about the potential of seeing some of those showers as you head through the rest of the week. Your warm-up continues. We'll talk about it in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Matt. Just ahead of 6:30 now, Gallatin City County Health Department health officer says COVID-19 cases in the county are going down. But as MTN's Gabby Crevitt tells us, he also says we're not out of the woods yet.
During a press conference, Health Officer Matt Kelly said the number of COVID-19 cases are going down for the third week in a row. And at the same time, the number of people signing up for COVID-19 vaccines has also fallen. Gallatin City County Health Officer Matt Kelly says at this rate, COVID-19 vaccination clinics being held at the Gallatin County Fairgrounds will likely go on until the end of the month. Kelly noted at this point, there are more open appointments than people wanting to get the vaccine.
And the emphasis will be moving into getting vaccines closer to people in the community. Just a function of demand. If we continue to fill up those fairgrounds vaccine clinics, we would keep running them, but we're just not seeing that.
And he says vaccine hesitancy has played a role.
We have gotten shots to the people who are eager to get those shots. And we're now working on people who either are uncertain, I just haven't tuned into it, or have some level of hesitancy. And I think that there's a wide spectrum there.
Bozeman Health Deaconess Hospital's Incident Command lead says Bozeman Health has administered over 30,000 vaccine doses and have people on standby to answer questions about the vaccine.
We want to encourage folks to reach out to their healthcare providers and call our hotline if they need more help in making decisions about scheduling to receive the vaccine and whether it's appropriate based on their current situation.
A spokesperson with Montana State University says while there are only a fraction of students that remain on campus during the summer semester, they will continue to offer the vaccine to students and are planning to roll out an incentive program. The Gallatin City County Health Department and Bozeman Health say they will be watching closely this week for the approval of the Pfizer vaccine for people ages 12 to 15. And if approved, both the county's clinics and the hospital will be offering the vaccine. Reporting in Bozeman, Gabby Crevitt, MTN News.
Well, thank you, Gabby. There's also good news on America's COVID recovery. New cases of the virus, hospitalizations, and deaths are all down. Nearly 35% of all American adults have been fully vaccinated. At the same time, nothing gets America on planes during a pandemic like the holidays. And Mother's Day weekend has proven no exception. CBS's Mola Lenghi is at New York's LaGuardia Airport and has our report.
A Mother's Day travel rush today as passengers from LA to New York take flight. More than 1.7 million travelers nationwide passed through airports Friday, a pandemic-era record.
Were there any concerns traveling or?
I'm fully vaccinated, which helps a lot. I felt pretty safe coming and traveling between states.
Americans' confidence appears to be growing as more COVID restrictions are lifted. But former FDA Commissioner Dr. Scott Gottlieb said on Face the Nation, the virus won't just disappear.
I do think we're going to have to contend with COVID again this winter, and we may have to re-implement mask ordinances in certain settings where we have outbreaks.
Of concern, 14 states have less than 40% of their populations partially vaccinated, with Mississippi at the bottom. This comes as more states turn down doses, with Wisconsin asking for just 8% of its federal allocation, Illinois 9%, and Kansas just under 9%. To boost those numbers, Saturday's Global Citizen Concert, which encouraged people to get vaccinated, raised $302 million to fight COVID.
We can't let up now. The vaccines are safe. I promise you they're safe.
With more Americans vaccinated, we could soon see some changes to indoor mask mandates. Dr. Anthony Fauci says the country may eventually take a seasonal approach to masks. For example, wear them during flu season. Mo Lulenge, CBS News, New York.
6:33 now in other headlines. It is a question that has been asked for years. Now, will Congress actually pass comprehensive police reform? While many states have passed new laws, so far nothing has changed at the federal level. Our Joe St. George with a look at the prospects, areas of disagreement, and what key deadline is approaching.
State of Minnesota, County of Hennepin.
It has been nearly 3 weeks since the Derek Chauvin verdict was heard all around the world.
Find the defendant guilty.
And it's been nearly 1 year since George Floyd was murdered in Minnesota.
And that anniversary is becoming increasingly relevant here on Capitol Hill. That's because President Biden has set that date as a deadline for passing nationwide police reform through Congress. The bill's entitled the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act.
Floyd died on May 25th of last year. That means Congress has about 2 weeks to get something done. Democratic Congresswoman Karen Bass has been leading negotiations for House Democrats. Republican Senator Tim Scott is leading negotiations for Senate Republicans. And based on what they've said in recent days, it appears a deal is still possible. Bass saying, I absolutely believe that we're going to get this over the finish line. Scott saying we have literally been able to bring these two bills very close together. For the moment, it appears Republicans and Democrats are nearing agreements on limits to data collection and no-knock warrants, as well as an increased use of police body cameras, as well as a ban on chokeholds. However, a big area of disagreement remains qualified immunity, the legal doctrine that protects officers from lawsuits. Reform advocates believe individual officers should be held accountable, but many police unions believe frivolous lawsuits will make innocent officers quit. What happens with that issue may determine whether or not police reform gets passed in the coming weeks. The Floyd family has been adamant they want something done nationwide, although we should note, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures, 140 state laws have changed since George Floyd was murdered last year. In Washington, I'm Joe St. George.
6:35 now, back here at home, thanks to new data from NOAA. The changes between conditions we're feeling right now and conditions leading up to it for over decades is all at our fingertips. Chief Meteorologist Mike Hurd breaks it all down for us.
National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration just updated a new set of U.S. climate normals for the past 30-year averages, now from 1991 to 2020, adding in the last decade. This new data set will give the general public, weather forecasters, businesses a standard way to compare today's weather conditions to a 30-year average. Locally, Butte has 3 notable changes in the last decade.
Was really notable in Butte was the increase in temperatures in the winter months of December through February, and specifically December. For example, compared to the previous normals, the average temperature was 1.6 degrees warmer in the month of December. And that was primarily driven by overnight lows or minimum temperatures, which were up 1.8 degrees. Just for July and August period, the average precipitation was down 0.23 of an inch, or about 7 or 8% compared to the previous 30-year normals. The average precipitation for April through June was up almost a half an inch, 0.47 inches.
There are some other interesting changes across Montana, with mean temperatures running a few degrees warmer, especially west of the Divide, and that is also very comparable to the entire country. However, slightly cooler across North Dakota and back into northern and eastern Montana.
So North Dakota, South Dakota, and eastern Montana is about the only part of the country that the annual mean temperature has gotten colder. And what we think is happening is we're staying warmer in the fall, and so when this cold air comes down in February, the last few years, it's been extremely cold, and that February and March data is skewing the data.
Well, I think everything in Montana is driven by warmer temperatures. Temperatures reduce our snowpack, the snow melts sooner, snow, when precipitation falls, it's rain, not snow, and so that's all driven by temperature. And that's what's going to be the big factor in Montana.
The new data set from 1991 to 2020 still shows a temperature rise of about 1.5 degrees for both Butte and for Bozeman. So that trend hasn't changed in the new data set. Keeping an eye on weather and climate. For Southwest Montana, I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Hurd for MTN News.
6:38. Thanks, Mike. Well, this month's waiting child is Jonathan, book-loving and energetic 12-year-old who's sure to bring a lot of joy and smiles to a family. MTN's Jordan Johnson has more.
Jonathan is an energetic 12-year-old boy who loves to read. In fact, he reads 3 grades above his own age group.
I do have a 9th grade reading level.
He loves Harry Potter, specifically the 5th book, The Order of the Phoenix. Jonathan would describe himself as an extraordinary kid.
Fantastic, amazing, and creative.
He enjoys PE class because he gets to be outside. He also enjoys riding his mountain bike, golfing, and would love to have a family that is active and has pets.
I would want them to have a German Shepherd, a pug, or both, and then a video game console. And I'd like them to work for search and rescue, and I would also like them to like the sports football, hockey, and baseball.
Not only that, but he has big aspirations when he grows up.
Be a CIA agent or do construction work, and then later on when I retire, I want to own a bakery.
In Kalispell, Jordan Johnson, MTN News.
CIA agent, construction worker, and then retire and run a bakery. Got it all mapped out. I love that. Now, to learn more about Jonathan, you can contact Miranda Sanderson at the email address you see on your screen. It's miranda.sanderson@mt.gov. A Waiting Child, our monthly series. We've been running it for years. I love it. 6:40, we're going to take a break. When we come back, ordering something from Amazon, but it doesn't exist. The giant company taking steps to fix fake listings. We'll have more on that, but first, here's a look at what's coming up at 7 o'clock on CBS This Morning.
Good morning to you. Ahead only on CBS This Morning, former First Lady Michelle Obama. We discuss the challenges facing America, including the impact of the pandemic on people's mental health and concern for her own family during these racially and politically divided times. Plus, her mission to ensure that all families, hear that, all families have access to healthy food. Go Michelle Obama. Also, cyber criminals force a shutdown of a major U.S. fuel pipeline, how Russians may be involved in that, and what's being done to restore the service. And Angelina Jolie talks to Vlad about her new movie and balancing work with motherhood during the pandemic. We'll see you 7 o'clock on the dot.